Hey, welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be all about my Melbourne Marathon race recap and an AlphaFly 500k plus review. So let's go. All right, so I thought I'd do a little bit different today. I'm out on my afternoon run. I'm back to doubles, which is really cool. So I'm just going to break down my race from last weekend. It might be a little bit shaky, but I'll find a couple of spots along the way to stop and give little sections of the race. All right, so first things first, let's do a little recap of what the goals were for Melbourne. The A goal was to go out at around 350 pace, and the B goal was to go just sub 4 minute average for the whole thing. All right, so now that we've got that cleared up, I'm gonna break the race down into chunk by chunk, how I broke it up in my head on race day. And I'll put up a little map going through all the little bits. So the first section that we'll go through is from the start line to Albert Park. So let's go. All right, so this only gets thrown in if I get home and realize I didn't explain it very well. But I break the race up into chunks when I race, just random chunks. It doesn't even have to be a set distance. It's more mental markers to get through. So for Melbourne, section 1 was the start line to Albert Park. Section 2 was Albert Park, back to the end of Albert Park. Section 3 was St Kilda Road, back to the left-hand turn at the Arts Centre, I think. Section 4 was that left, back to the bridge. And section 5 was the bridge back to the MCG. And I'll have a little graphic up here that will have shown all that. All right, so after a good warm-up, got down to the start line just behind the tennis courts, had enough time to do 1 or 2 more strides, go to the bathroom, then got on the start line. Now it was pretty good. We were only held on the start line for like 2 minutes before we were off. So got off the start. It felt good, but it didn't feel good at the same time. That first 5.5k, I really struggled to get into a rhythm of like half marathon pace. I felt like I was either going way too fast or way too slow. And then it sort of stayed like that for the next chunk of the race. But that's the first bit. I'm puffed out because I'm out on my run and it's like 30 degrees out here at the moment. So let's get to section 2, which is the lap through Albert Park. All right, so when we got into Albert Park, that's where things started to go south a little bit, but not too bad. Straight into Albert Park, really hit a really strong headwind. And I think if you ask anyone there that day what they thought of the wind, they'd all give you the same answer. But I felt good, I still felt strong. I felt like I was able to hold pace, my form was good, and yeah, just running well, and was really buzzed on running through Albert Park. I love watching the Formula One, so it was a cool experience to get to run on the same track as that. So you're actually in Albert Park for the majority of the half. This is where we go through 10k, had my gel there. I was still feeling pretty solid through 10k, but this is where it started to be, no matter which direction you're facing, you had a headwind. And I was in that weird space that I sort of didn't really have a pack to run with. I was kind of running on my own, kind of running with other people. You'd get 10 meters with someone, 10 meters on your own. It's sort of weird pacing, and this is where things started to pinch. I was still feeling really good through 10k, but then this is coming into the next section of the race, section 3, in my little mental breakdown that I did to get through the race. And this is where you go up a little hill to get back onto St Kilda, and this is where it all started to fall apart. I was definitely starting to feel the pinch here, and you come out of Albert Park and there's a 15k sign, but it's a 15k sign for the marathon, and I thought it was for the half. So I was like, all right, you've got 6k to go, get into your next section of the race, section 3, you've done 2, a couple more to go. And this, I managed to sort of rally a little bit mentally to get through it, but sort of didn't, and picked up the pace, slowed down. Groups were going past me. I'd get on the back of them for a couple meters, and then I'd drop off, and then hit 13k. The actual 13k of the race was a big black sign, which was for the half, and that's where the wheels really started to fall off. All right, so section 3 is where it started to get really tough. This is where I started to feel the real pinch in my legs, and just that sort of frustrating feeling of I want to push, but my legs just don't have any energy to push. Aerobically, I was fine. My heart rate was dropping actually for a little bit, and this was just survive. This was just very much a welcome back to the half. And it just came down to training. So this was a short and a sweet section. It felt like it lasted forever, but it was pretty much just sluggish legs the whole way and trying to keep the pressure on as much as I could. I knew I'd slow. I didn't know I was slowing down because I hadn't looked at my watch since 5K, which was part of the plan. And yeah, it got ugly. It got ugly in there, and it just doing everything I could in my head to try and keep my form good. And then it would go, and then get it back, and then it'd go. So just all those little things that you try and trick your head with. And then we hit the left-hand turn, which I think it's next to the Arts Centre, and that's when you know you're close to the finish. You got to go under a bridge, up a little hill. That was the next section of the course, section 4. I just wanted to get from that left-hand turn back onto the bridge, and that felt like it lasted forever. All right, and then made it to the bridge. This got into the last section of the course. This was from the bridge back to the G, and it was the best part of the course and the worst part of the course all at once. It was the best part because you knew the finish was close, and I felt like I was able to pick up a little bit. My splits don't say that, but my effort definitely did pick up. And as you see the G getting closer and closer, it's very, very cool. And then finishing in the G is always awesome. I don't think I have any footage of it, but if I do, I'll put it here. Initial reaction after the race was kind of disappointed. I know it was tough to sort of figure out how to feel at that point because I didn't feel like I worked that hard aerobically. My legs were just cooked, but it didn't last for very long. But I managed to see my coach straight after the race, who he actually came second in the marathon, and just had a quick chat with him and sort of basically just came to didn't come to the agreement, sort of just got told, just with the little ups and downs we've had in this build, I just didn't get the key sessions I needed to actually run the time that we were hoping for. I did still hit my B goal of sub 4 minute pace average, which was good, and it's nice to have that little win. Going through 10K, I was on track for about 120-ish, but that's through 10K. That's not through the end of the race. So that's kind of that for the Melbourne recap. I've kind of left it a little bit too long to make this video. It's the Friday of the week of 2 weeks after now. So it's just a little quick one, a little weird. I'll see how it comes out when I patch it together. But that's why I'm going to throw on the end of this a 500K plus AlphaFly review. So let's get home and have a look at that. All right, so now it's time for my thoughts on the AlphaFly 3 after about 500K. This pair's probably got just over 500K in them. I think probably better to start with what my thoughts on what they were going to be like after my first run when I got them. After my first run in them, I thought that they were going to get absolutely shredded. I did not think that they would last much more than 150K, even being generous for training purposes for me. But I am very, very surprised. So let's go and do a couple of things. So I got a brand new pair here, or this pair has exactly 31K in them. This is my race pair at the moment. And this is the pair that was their last run. I normally wouldn't do an easy run in them. They're normally exclusively for race day, but I thought, one last run in them before I do my little review in them, before I put them on the shelf. So let's get into it. So start off with the cushioning. I think it's lasted actually really, really well. And I think it's going to come down to sort of your foot strike and all that a little bit too. They still feel great. I went for my 60-minute easy this morning in my Zoom flies, and putting these on this afternoon compared to them, it's like running on a marshmallow still. I enjoy the Zoom flies, but they're just so much softer, as you'd expect them to be for a race shoe. However, I have noticed, for me at least, my ankles are a little bit wobbly, a little bit unstable. So especially towards the end of a long run, they've lost a bit of the structure on the inside of your foot for me. Not that they're a super stable shoe in the first place. I find them personally way more stable than the Vaporflies. So they are actually working really well for me with my ankles, but I definitely have noticed that inside is starting to lose just a little bit of the meat. The foam in the AirPod has obviously been a little bit more compressed than it is fresh out of the box. and it's just getting a little bit worn for me. So that is probably the biggest reason why I'm going to be retiring this pair, is just noticing that just starting to get some little bit more ankle movement than I would than I am in the new pair or my other training pair at the moment. Next thing I think would be like durability of the shoe. I am very impressed. I'll put some like close-ups right now on them, but on my right shoe, they look great. I mean, the foam's a bit discolored and there's a little bit of scuffing on the sort of outside of the heel, and the front of the shoe is pretty torn up. I tend to land more forefoot, midfoot, and you can definitely see that, especially on my right shoe. On the left shoe, I've got a fair bit more wear. It's a little bit of a bad habit that I'm trying to fix at the moment, is that as I get tired, I start to land a little bit more midfoot heels and heel strike on that side, but still, even like after 500 plus K for ZoomX foam, I'm very impressed, and that you'll be seeing pictures of that now. And they're still so soft, but it's definitely time for them to be retired. Then the upper, I don't think that it lost anything over time. It was just as comfortable on that run that I did as it was on the first run that I went in. So the AirPods, I actually think they broke in better after sort of maybe 20 or 30K. Now, I have sort of changed my mind on that from this pair to this pair. This pair, I thought they were quite firm straight out of the box, but obviously I just had to get used to them, whereas this pair, literally the first race I did in them, the first steps running I did in them was the 10K in Sydney, and they were fantastic. And you can definitely feel the difference between a fresh pair and the old pair. So just for a quick review, I was very shocked in a good way with how well these lasted. I definitely personally won't be taking any of them over this distance. Actually, I'd probably be retiring most of them probably around 450K actually, after sort of running in this pair for a while. But I think there's definitely people out there who, depending on your foot strike, you could easily get 600-700K out of them. I wouldn't race in them with anything over 100K in them. And I actually personally probably won't race in a pair over 50K because I think I get so much out of them anyway by putting them into just my training rotation for track and long runs and all that I'm not really wasting value in the shoe. And on race day, I want the most performance I can out of the shoe. Melbourne might not have shown that very much, but I think as I get going again next year, that's going to be important, and it'll be something that I'm happy to do. So that's that. As if you needed another person to recommend them, but maybe that's just another opinion on them. Is that I actually think that they're expensive, but you can get way more out of them than you think if you're smart with how you use them. And just because they're not good for races anymore doesn't mean they're not good for training or for long runs, easy runs. The occasional easy run, if you've got like a completely cooked pair like this, I won't be, again, like I said about my ankles, but if you had fine ankles, you could quite easily throw these in as a easy run shoe for your double runs if you wanted to be a little bit nice to yourself or have a little bit of a special afternoon run. But yeah, that'll be up to you and how your foot lands. So that's that for this week. Next week, I'm not sure what the video will be. Maybe leave a comment in the description of what you think it could be, and I might make that. Until then, 92% of people that have watched even one of the videos aren't subscribed, and my goal is to get to 100 by the end of the year. I could smash by that in like a day if a couple more of the people that watched actually subscribe, so you should do that. I'm going to keep harping on about it. Big things are coming next year, and I'm not just talking about it. I am doing it, and all the groundwork is being laid in the background. And actually right now this video is part of the groundwork, just getting used to filming and getting better at editing and learning all the skills that I'm going to need for next year. So until next week, I'll see you then. Keep running, keep going hard.